Imagine if this was true. What if the most dangerous individuals in human history aren't really tyrants or criminals, but intellectuals who corrupted ideas become the invisible chains that bind civilization to self-destruction for centuries? Well, we've been exploring the depths of Gurdjieff's cosmic masterpiece, and today we'll encounter 3 chapters that reveal the most terrifying truth about human development. It's a view about how single individuals with advanced intellectual capacity can create philosophical viruses that infect entire civilizations, destroying authentic spiritual achievement and replacing it with sophisticated forms of unconsciousness that persist across millennia. I'm Mark Roach. Welcome back to Transcendent. The 28th teaching, which is the cosmic consequences of intellectual corruption, chapter 28 introduces us to the most chilling figure in all of Beelzebub's observations, Lenthro Homsonin, a learned being whose philosophical invention became the primary cause for the complete destruction of Ashata Shimash's beneficial legacy. This chapter reveals how intellectual development without corresponding moral development creates individuals with the capability of cosmic scale harm. Lenthro Homsonin represents what Gurdjieff calls a hosnomous individual, a being who achieves high levels of intellectual and even spiritual development while simultaneously crystallizing what he determines Hosmusian properties. These are characteristics that make their influence actively harmful to universal harmony rather than beneficial. The most terrifying aspect is that such beings possess genuine knowledge and real capabilities, but these abilities serve destructive rather than constructive purposes. Modern psychology recognizes this pattern in research on what's called the dark triad of personality traits: narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathology, or psychopathy. Studies show that individuals can possess high intelligence, sophisticated understanding of human psychology, and even genuine charisma, while using these gifts to manipulate and exploit others rather than serve beneficial purposes. But Lenthro Homsonin's case is even more disturbing because his corruption operates at the level of ideas rather than direct action. His maleficent intervention was a philosophical concept that became the foundation for all subsequent human religious and philosophical confusion. The specific nature relates to the concept of good and evil as external forces rather than consequences of conscious or unconscious human choice. The philosophical error might seem abstract until you recognize its devastating practical consequences. When people believe that good and evil are external forces acting upon them rather than results of their own choices, they lose the fundamental basis for moral responsibility. They become victims of their circumstances rather than conscious agents capable of authentic decision-making. Contemporary culture demonstrates this pattern perfectly. People explain their behavior through external circumstances, biological determinism, psychological conditioning, social pressures, economic necessity, or political forces rather than recognizing their own capacity for conscious choice. This creates what researchers call learned helplessness on a civilizational scale. The transmission mechanism Lenthro Homsonin used reveals another crucial insight. Maleficent ideas that can persist and spread across vast periods of time, gaining authority and influence far beyond their original context. His ideas reached the Babylonian learned beings centuries later than a manuscript written in his own hand. demonstrating how intellectual authority can be used to transmit harmful concepts across generations. Modern research on cultural transmission validates this process completely. Ideas spread through networks of influence, gaining credibility through repetition and association with respected sources rather than through verification of their truth or usefulness. Social media algorithms amplify this by creating echo chambers where harmful ideas can spread rapidly through communities of shared belief. The cosmic dimensions of Lenthro Hominism's influence is the most profound aspect of this teaching. His ideas didn't merely affect human intellectual development, they create obstacles to the normal spiritual development of three-brained beings throughout the universe, ultimately affecting cosmic harmony itself. The individual intellectual corruption has universal consequences. Now, the 29th teaching, the cultural foundations of modern unconsciousness. Chapter 29 provides Gurdjieff's most comprehensive analysis of how ancient Greek and Roman civilizations systemically destroyed the last remnants of authentic spiritual culture while creating the foundations for all the subsequent cultural distortions. This chapter reveals the historical roots of contemporary civilization's fundamental problems. The Greeks and Romans established or accomplished something unprecedented in human history. They made a clean sweep from the surface of the planet of even the memory of authentic spiritual achievement. This wasn't merely political or military conquest. It was the systemic eradication of genuine spiritual culture and its replacement with sophisticated substitutes that actively prevent the development of authentic understanding. The philosophical foundations they created became permanent obstacles to normal human development. Greek rationalism separated thinking from feeling and body, creating the illusion that intellectual understanding alone constitutes genuine knowledge. Roman pragmaticism reduced all values to utilitarian calculations, eliminating consideration of cosmic purpose or universal responsibility. These cultural forms became the template for all subsequent civilization, creating self-perpetuating systems that prevent genuine development while creating the illusion of progress and sophistication. Modern education, philosophy, art, social organization all carry forward these fundamental errors that make authentic spiritual development nearly impossible. Consider how contemporary education systems operate. Students learn to separate subjects into discrete categories that never connect into unified understanding. Intellectual analysis becomes divorced from practical application and emotional intelligence. Success is measured through competitive comparison rather than actual development of capability or wisdom. Modern research on educational psychology confirms that fragmented learning prevents the integration necessary for genuine understanding. Studies show that students often graduate with extensive factual knowledge but little capacity for critical thinking, creative problem solving, or practical application of what they've learned. The Greek emphasis on debate and argument as paths to truth created what Gurdjieff calls wiseacring, the transformation of genuine inquiry into intellectual competition. Truth becomes whatever can be defended most skillfully rather than what corresponds to actual reality. This pattern dominates contemporary academic culture, political discourse, and social media interaction. Roman administrative efficiency created bureaucratic systems that replace human judgment with procedural compliance. People learn to follow rules rather than understand principles, to seek approval rather than develop conscience, to manage appearances rather than transform reality. This creates what Hannah Arendt called the banality of evil, vast systems that produced harmful results through mechanical operation rather than through conscious malice. The most tragic aspect is how these cultural forms became associated with sophistication and progress. People defending Greek and Roman achievements point to technological innovations, artistic creations, and administrative accomplishments, while remaining blind to the psychological and spiritual cost of these same achievements. The 30th teaching, the degeneration of sacred art into entertainment. Chapter 30 presents Gurdjieff's comprehensive theory of art, distinguishing between authentic art that serves objective purposes and contemporary art that primarily satisfies subjective emotional needs. This chapter provides both practical understanding of the artistic creation and deeper insights into human psychology and cosmic purpose. Beelzebub explains that true art serves specific cosmic functions, transmitting knowledge across time and space, awakening conscience in those who encounter it, and contributing to the harmonious development of human consciousness. Objective art creates identical impressions of all people regardless of their cultural background or personal preferences because it operates according to universal laws rather than subjective associations. The ancient Babylonian systems Beelzebub describes organized art according to specific days of the week, each devoted to different aspects of knowledge and transmission. Sacred dances encoded cosmic laws in bodily positions and sequences. Musical compositions created specific psychological states while transmitting mathematical relationships. Visual arts use colors and forms to preserve knowledge that could survive constitutional or civilizational collapse. Contemporary art has become primarily subjective, serving the artist's psychological needs and the audience's emotional gratification rather than transmitting genuine knowledge or awakening higher capacities. Modern artists create primarily to satisfy their own need for self-expression and to gain recognition from others rather than to serve any larger purpose. The degeneration of art parallels the degeneration of consciousness itself. As humans lost connection with their conscience and higher possibilities, art became increasingly divorced from its objective purposes and increasingly focused on subjective satisfaction. The art world became a marketplace. It became a marketplace of competing egos rather than a means of transmitting wisdom. Modern research on aesthetic psychology validates this understanding. Studies show that people's artistic preferences are largely determined by social conditioning, personal associations, and emotional needs, rather than by any objective qualities of the artwork itself. What people call good art is usually whatever reinforces their existing beliefs or provides pleasant emotional experiences. The psychological diseases that Gurdjieff identifies as particularly affecting contemporary art is pride, self-love, vanity, and comparable maladies make genuine artistic creation almost impossible. These distortions cause artists to use their creative capacity to enhance their ego rather than serve authentic development. But the most profound insight is that art serves the universe itself by contributing to the conscious evolution of intelligence through the cosmos. Artists who understand this purpose can create works that genuinely assist in the development of consciousness, rather than merely entertaining or emotionally stimulating their audiences. Bring it all together here. The intellectual corruption of human development. These 3 chapters reveal the complete mechanisms through which human civilization became systemically corrupted. Chapter 28 shows how individual intellectual corruption can have cosmic consequences. Chapter 29 reveals how cultural forms can become vehicles for transmitting unconsciousness across generations. Chapter 30 demonstrates how even the highest human achievements can become obstacles to authentic development. Together, these chapters, they diagnose our current moment as the culmination of processes that begin with specific historical figures and cultural movements. The philosophical errors introduced by figures like Lentro Homonasen and the cultural distortions established by Greek and Roman civilization into entertainment have created interlocking systems that maintain humans in states of sophisticated unconsciousness. The implications for anyone seriously interested in conscious development are staggering. Most of what passes for education, culture, and artistic achievement in contemporary civilization actively prevents, rather than supports, authentic growth. The very achievements that our society considers most sophisticated often represent the most refined form of spiritual obstacles. This doesn't mean rejecting all intellectual activity, cultural participation, or rejecting artistic appreciation. It means developing the capacity to distinguish between activities that serve genuine development versus those that merely provide substitutes for real achievement. It means recognizing that cultural sophistication and spiritual development are often inversely related. For people navigating the challenges of 2025, these chapters provide crucial diagnostic tools. The rise of artificial intelligence, the proliferation of misinformation, the fragmentation of cultural authority, and the commodification of spiritual teachings all represent contemporary manifestations of the same patterns Gurdjieff identified in ancient civilizations. The key insight is that ideas have consequences far beyond their immediate application. The philosophical concepts you accept, the cultural forms you participate in, the artistic works that you support, all contribute to the perpetuation of unconsciousness or the possibility of authentic development. There is no neutral position. This requires developing what Gurdjieff called being park dog duty, the active effort to understand that true nature, the active effort to understand the true nature of consequences of the ideas and cultural forms you encounter. It means examining whether your intellectual activities serve genuine understanding or merely providing intellectual entertainment. It means considering whether your cultural participation contributes to authentic development or sophisticated distraction. Most importantly, it means recognizing that your individual choices about ideas, culture, and art have significance, cosmic significance. Just as Lentrohominism's philosophical invention had consequences across millennia, your commitment to authentic rather than corrupted forms of development contributes to the larger evolutionary process. The question isn't whether you can single-handedly transform civilization. You cannot. The question is whether you'll participate consciously in whatever genuine cultural renaissance might be possible, or whether you'll continue to support these sophisticated systems that maintain humanity in states of educated unconsciousness. The choice is individual, but the consequences extend far beyond personal benefit. The future of human consciousness depends on people choosing authentic over sophisticated, real over impressive, and genuinely developmental over merely entertaining cultural forms. Are you ready to examine how your own intellectual activities might be serving unconsciousness rather than development? Can you distinguish between cultural forms that support genuine growth versus those that provide sophisticated distraction? Will you use your creative capacity to transmit wisdom or to enhance ego? The cosmic responsibility of consciousness requires nothing less than complete honesty about these questions. I'm Mark Roach, wishing you all the best.